All right, hello. It's after the fact. I'm looking through the data, and it doesn't really support what I'm hearing. Even on the last barrel showdown, when we had a more sensitive decibel meter, that's currently out of commission, but it was kind of subject to where in the stream it was picking up the value. I don't think the equipment that I have is sensitive enough to really do a meaningful decibel test, just because the difference between 60 and 60.1 it seems significant when you're shooting it because of how the decibel scale is, but the equipment isn't sensitive enough to pick up on that. So I just wanted to preface by saying, if I were to rank them personally, the UL-I is quieter than the stock S63. It sounds a little bit different, and that's really what you're kind of getting into with all of these barrels, right? Is that I don't think they're markedly quieter. None of them are more accurate, but none of them are. It just kind of changes the way it sounds, and you can prefer that. And I think most people have similar sound preferences. You know what I mean? Like, no one's gonna run a barrel with no porting and say that it changes the sound. I actually like it better. It's like we all generally agree on what sounds good and what sounds bad. So I think even though it's not, qualitative, it's more, opinion driven. I think there's some truth into it, and it's repeatable to a degree. I think the UL-I has a very similar sound signature, albeit a little deeper, a little throatier than the S63. The S63, to borrow some terms from the audiophile community, is a bit brighter of a barrel, and then the UL-I has kind of a deeper timbre to it. And then the Carbon Nano, I don't know if it's any quieter, but something about those tiny holes, it slows the expansion of the gap. I don't know what the science is, but it's taken to the theoretical extreme of tiny barrel port, which everyone agrees on, but no one wants to drill 700 tiny holes in a barrel. You know what I mean? Except for Carbon, and it's this big, and it's $150, right? So it certainly is the most pronounced of a change between all barrels tested. So Carbon Nano, you got to give it to that. It sounds like you are shooting with a blanket wrapped around your barrel. It's more muffled. I don't want to say it's softer, but maybe it takes longer for the sound to reach your ears. It's got some kind of sound disbursement baffling thing going on, right? And the thing that was, I don't want to say surprising, but what I was hoping would be the case is that the method barrel is kind of that happy medium between the UL-I and the Nano. So it is certainly quieter than the S63. It has a little bit of that dampened sound like the Nano, but it has that throatier, lower timbre like the UL-I. So if you were to take all three and blend them into one barrel, I think you get the benefit of all three. So imagine you're doing character selection, attribute sliders in a video game, right? You put it all to one and you're going to get the Nano. You put it all to the other and you're going to get the UL-I, right? And I think the method barrel does a really good job of balancing all those sliders across, quietness, all of these different variables, right? So I think it's the most even offering. I think it looks fantastic because the Nano looks like fucking shit. Big, stupid, injected carbon back that I can't tie into any anodizing scheme. So you lose big points if you're doing a build and you're using a Nano. It's a great barrel, but it sucks. The method barrel looks fantastic. Doesn't look as good as the UL-I, but it sounds better than the UL-I. So these are the kind of questions that you need to, answer when when it comes down to what kind of barrel you're looking for. So I think aesthetics are the number one piece of barrel technology, followed by sound signature. And then, of course, things like honing and concentricity, all of those are going to be great. Die barrel's great. The method barrel is surprisingly great because of how the inserts are held with those bands. They're drilled all the way through and they're held with those external bands. There's no O-rings in there. It's high engineering. That's those method guys, right? So very impressed with the method. If it means anything, I will be switching over to the method barrel in my personal life. So my future builds, I will be using method barrels because I think you get very close to the Nano with superior aesthetics and I think superior performance. So it sounds a little bit different, but it sounds better than the UL-I, which was kind of the mark to beat. So take a look at this video. You can kind of pick it out a little bit. I just shot 5 shots so I could see the data. Data's not meaning a lot, but what can you do? All right, hello. The game has stayed the same, but the players have changed. You might have seen the previous Power Barrel Showdown. We have a new entry that I think is worth a special video here. Jerod Bushman and John Chambers, notably from Method Development, formerly Salty Engineering. John Chambers, inventor of the Gamma Core, previous die guy. They have their first foray into the barrel market here with the to-be-named Method Barrel. I'll get into it when I have the barrel in hand here, the things I like about it, but I think it's worth doing a comparison on a Planet gun, which most will end up on, versus the stock barrel, my current favorite, the Carbon Nano, and then kind of the people's choice, you know, the die UL-I. Where does it fit into that mix? Aesthetically it looks great, so let's see how it performs, and let's get a little baseline. New meter, new day, so let's see how it goes. This is the stock S63 barrel. All barrels are using the same insert, and as you can see, we are shooting 290s, high 280s. So we're not going to bother with velocity just because we got this paint at a dirt bike park, indoor go-kart facility in an unmarked box, and it's pretty oblong. It's pretty crazy. So just sound signature today. So here's the standard S63, and I'll just do a couple single shots so you can see what the actual decibel rating is on this here. So here is the S63. 5 shots. Let's move on over to the die UL-I, which I like a lot. Let's see how it does. In 5 shots. Certainly quieter than the S63, anecdotally. But you're still getting a lot of that geo whoosh on there. So let's see if this Nano can keep it going. I don't know if the Nano's any quieter than the UL-I, but it certainly sounds different. It feels like that venting, that classic geo kind of air seal here is being negated a little bit. But here is the Method barrel. It combines a lot of what I like from Inception and Lurker, like the Eigen barrel. Tons of very small porting at the tip, spiral porting, and then the brake porting at the very back, like the UL-I does. So I think it should be a best of all worlds type thing here. Plus I think it looks great, and I think it should be quieter. Let's see. It sounds like the UL-I. The Nano sounds different. The UL-I sounds quieter. This sounds like the UL-I, but quieter. I think it has much more porting, but it's getting that UL-I signature at the back.
As a bystander, it sounds the quietest, but we'll take the 5-shot average.
We'll look at the data.